Good morning, grade 5 girls. How are you today? Today we will complete our lesson. What are the outer planets? What are the outer planets? Today is Sunday, 12 April 2020. All of you, open page 287. Lesson objective. To identify the outer planets and will compare and contrast the characteristics of the outer planets and inner planets. Today we will study about the Saturn. Saturn. We have four outer planets, as I told you, and four inner planets. The four inner planets, who can tell me what is it? Yes, it's Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Now, the four outer planets is uh, Jupiter, and here Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun is Saturn. Like Jupiter, Saturn has an atmosphere that contains mostly hydrogen and helium. Saturn is very large, but its density is low. If you see here the picture is very large, but its density is low. Here, when Galileo looked at Saturn through his telescope, he saw that he saw what looked like a planet with handles. What is the handles? The handles were really brilliant rings that orbit Saturn. This is the ring, orbit Saturn. Here, if you see in this picture here, look at the pointer here. The particles making up the rings vary in size from tiny grains to boulders. They are made of ice, dust, and rocks. This ring made of ice, dust, and rocks. The inner ring of Saturn revolves faster around the planet than the outer ring. Here you have, after we finish, I will show you a video. Now, as I told you, the sixth planet from the Sun, what is that? Who can tell me? Yes, it is Saturn. Like Jupiter, Saturn has an atmosphere that contains mostly hydrogen and helium. Saturn is very large, but its density is low. When Galileo looked at Saturn through his telescope, he saw that what looked like a planet with handles. The handles were really the brilliant rings that orbit Saturn. The particles making up the rings vary in size from tiny grains to boulders. Now, the inner ring of Saturn revolves faster around the planet than the outer ring. Now here, who can read this question and answer it? Yes, two rocks on the ring of Saturn start orbiting at point 1 and 2. After a while, the rock that started at point 1 has moved to point 3. Fill in the number that shows where rock 2 is likely to be considering its speed. Okay, this is, as I told you, here we have the rock that started at point 1 has moved to point 3. So point 2 moved to 6 here. The small dot at the center of the ring is Saturn, which is hundreds of times smaller than the ring. All of you, please write here number 6. Now, I want to show you here a video about Saturn. Yes.
Saturn, the sixth planet from the Sun,
So it's the
is
sixth
the second
planet
largest
from
planet
the
in the
sun.
solar system, smaller only than Jupiter.
Smaller than
Saturn is
Jupiter.
easy to identify because of the large, beautiful system of rings surrounding it. Like Jupiter,
This is the
Uranus,
ring
and
surrounded
Neptune,
it.
Saturn is a gas giant. It is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, with crystals of ammonia in the upper layers of its atmosphere, which is what gives it its pale yellow color. Although the outermost layers of Saturn are made of gases, scientists believe that if you traveled down through the atmosphere, you would eventually find that the hydrogen and helium became liquid, and even farther down, metallic. And in the center of the planet, they believe there is a hard, rocky core.
In the center of the planet, there is a hard rocky core.
Saturn is the least dense planet in the solar system. Although it is much larger than the Earth, about 9 times wider and 95 times more
It
massive,
has low density.
it is only about 12% as dense as the Earth is. That means that if you were able to find a bathtub large enough, Saturn would float in the water. Like Jupiter, Saturn has storms and stripes of clouds. They are just harder to see because of their pale color.
It's hard to see it
However,
because it's
winds
pale
on
color.
Saturn are much faster than Jupiter's winds. Saturn has the second fastest winds in the solar system, reaching speeds of 1,800 kilometers per hour. The only planet with winds faster than Saturn is Neptune. Saturn is far from the Sun, about 890 million miles, or 1.4 billion kilometers away. As a result, it takes a very, very long time to travel around the Sun.
It takes very long
About
time
29 years.
to move, about
However,
29 years
it
to
spins
move
or
around the
rotates
sun.
much more quickly than the Earth does.
But the Earth,
Instead
1
of
year
rotating
only.
once every 24 hours, Saturn's day lasts less than 11 hours. Saturn is the farthest planet that can be seen by humans without help from a telescope, and so it has been known to humans for thousands of years. The ancient Babylonians, Greeks, Romans, Chinese and Japanese astronomers, and more all had a name for Saturn. The word Saturn comes from the name of the ancient Roman god Saturnus, god of wealth and agriculture. Although ancient astronomers knew about Saturn, no one knew about its rings. The rings are not visible without the help of a telescope, and
We
so it
cannot see
wasn't
the
until
ring
the
without
astronomer
telescope.
Galileo used his telescope to observe
Galileo
Saturn
used the
in
telescope to see
1610
the ring.
that people knew that there was anything different about it at all. When Galileo saw Saturn's rings, he didn't know what they could be. He thought they might be moons, or smaller planets set beside the main one in the center. He even described the rings as Saturn's ears. It wasn't until later, when stronger telescopes were made, that astronomers realized that Saturn was surrounded by wide, flat rings. Saturn's rings are about 175,000 miles, or 282,000 kilometers across, but only about 30 feet or 10 meters thick. They are made of many, many pieces of ice and rock,
Made
ranging
of
from the
many
size
pieces
of
of
a grain of
ice
sand
and
to the
rocks.
size of a bus. Scientists believe that the rings may have formed when comets, asteroids, or even moons collided or were ripped apart by Saturn's gravity. As time went on, these pieces may have continued colliding with each other, smashing into smaller and smaller pieces. In addition to its rings, many moons and satellites orbit Saturn. It has at least 62 moons,
It has
and perhaps
62
100
moons.
more smaller bodies also circling it. Saturn's largest moon, Titan, is the second largest moon in the solar system. Scientists are very interested in Titan because it is the only moon in the solar system known to have a dense atmosphere, mostly nitrogen, with some methane and hydrogen present. Titan is also the only celestial body aside from Earth that has ever been found to have bodies of liquid on its surface.
Okay, my dear students, we will
These liquid
complete
bodies are
our
not made of
lesson
water, of course.
tomorrow, inshallah.